Top 10 Biggest SUVs in the World 2026. Number 10. Chevrolet Suburban. The Suburban is basically America's SUV. It's been around since 1935, that's 91 years. No typo, this nameplate has been in continuous production longer than almost any vehicle in history. Sit with that for a second. The 2026 model stretches out to about 225 inches. That's nearly 19 feet of American steel and attitude. Roughly 5,800 pounds, and with the 6.2-liter V8, 420 horsepower, and the price of entry, it starts right around $62,000, which, by the time we hit number 1, is going to feel like pocket change. But here's what earns it the spot. It's the benchmark. When somebody says big SUV, this is the picture in their head. 3 rows, up to 144 cubic feet of cargo with the seats down, that's a small moving van. And it'll tow past 8,000 pounds. For 2026, Chevy bumped up the infotainment screen, refined the Super Cruise hands-free system, and improved the magnetic ride control. It's the kind of vehicle that quietly says, I've got a family of 7, and every single one of us is comfortable on this 12-hour road trip. The Suburban is big, but on this list, it's the small one, which should honestly terrify you a little. Number 9. GMC Yukon 40 Denali Ultimate. Now, some of you are already typing, isn't that just a Suburban in a nicer jacket? And, okay, fair, they share a platform. Same 225 plus inches, similar wheelbase, around 5,900 pounds. But the Denali Ultimate trim is where GMC stops being polite. A 16-speaker Bose performance system, full-grain leather seats with massage, real wood trim, not the printed plastic stuff, and a head-up display that throws your info across the entire windshield like a fighter jet. The 2026 refresh brings a meaner front end, too. The grille on this thing looks like it could swallow a smart car whole. And honestly, it probably could. So if the Suburban is practical, the Yukon XL Denali Ultimate is practical in a 3-piece suit and a Rolex. It's for the person who wants the space of a school bus with the manners of a private jet. And that nicer jacket isn't cheap. A base Yukon XL starts in the low $70,000, but loaded up to this Denali Ultimate trim and you're looking at right around $120,000. Same platform as the Suburban, nearly double the sticker. Fun fact before we move on, the Yukon XL is a favorite of the Secret Service. So if it's good enough to protect the president, it'll survive your grocery run. And speaking of capable, the next one is actually longer than both of these, which makes the GM crowd a little nervous. Number 8. Ford Expedition Max Platinum. Ford fully redesigned the Expedition for 2025, and going into 2026, it's finally hitting its stride. The Expedition Max, the long wheelbase version, stretches to about 227 inches. That makes it longer than both the Suburban and the Yukon XL. Ford walked into GM's house and took the tape measure. Under the hood, a twin-turbo 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, around 440 horsepower and 510 pound-feet, paired with a 10-speed automatic that's been retuned for 2026, smoother shifts, better fuel economy. Though better fuel economy is a relative term when you're piloting a small apartment building, here's the part that matters. The Expedition Max rides on Ford's T3 platform, body-on-frame, shared with the F-150, so this thing can tow up to 9,500 pounds, depending on how you spec it. That's a big boat. That's a horse trailer, with the horses still in it. The Platinum trim adds Blue Cruise 2.0 hands-free driving, a 48-inch digital display, and a cabin air filter Ford says pulls out 99.5% of airborne particles. So the air inside is cleaner than the air outside. Let that one marinate. And here's the value play. The Expedition starts in the low $60,000, but this fully loaded Max Platinum lands around $90,000. For nearly 10 grand less than a comparable GM, you arguably get the most capable rig of the bunch. The Expedition never gets the love the Suburban gets, and that's a shame, because it might be the most capable thing we've covered so far. Capable, sure, but the next one might just outlive us all. Number 7. Toyota Sequoia. The Sequoia has always been Toyota's answer to the Suburban. And since its full redesign on the TNGAF platform, it's gone from fine to genuinely tempting. About 220 inches, right around 6,000 pounds, comfortably one of the biggest. Here's the 2026 headline. Every Sequoia is a hybrid now, standard. The iForce Max system pairs a twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 with an electric motor baked into the transmission minus 437 horsepower and a frankly absurd 583 pound-feet of torque. That's more twist than most of the V8s on this list. And because it's a Toyota, the reliability is almost a meme at this point. There are first-gen Sequoias from 2001 still out there with 400,000 miles on the clock. Toyota over-engineers everything, then adds a safety margin. On top of the safety margin, for 2026 you get a quicker infotainment system, a properly capable TRD Pro trim with a locking rear diff and Fox internal bypass shocks, and nice touch, load-leveling rear air suspension on every trim. Pricing. It opens around $66,000 and climbs to roughly $80,000 for the Go-Anywhere TRD Pro. Not cheap, but for a vehicle this likely to outlast you, think of it less as a purchase and more as an inheritance. The Sequoia is the tortoise in a world of hares. Not the flashiest, not the most luxurious, but it'll probably still be running long after everything else here is in a junkyard. And there's something deeply satisfying about that. Okay. Now we leave the practical world behind. From here, the prices, the screens, the egos, they all get a lot bigger. Number 6. Cadillac Escalade ESV. The ESV extended stretch vehicle, for the curious, pushes to about 227 inches. Same GM bones as the Suburban and Yukon, but what Cadillac does with those bones is closer to art. B-roll, slow pan across the curved dashboard screen, interior lit. Start with the dash. The 2026 Escalade ESV has a 55-inch curved OLED display stretching across the whole front cabin, 55 inches. That's bigger than most people's living room TV, and the color and clarity make every other car's screen look like a flip phone. And the V-Sport trim, supercharged 6.2-liter V8, north of 680 horsepower. 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, in a 6,200-pound vehicle. That isn't fast, that's physics filing a complaint. A 36-speaker AKG studio system, night vision with pedestrian detection, Super Cruise with automatic lane changes. The Escalade isn't an SUV so much as a tech demo with Q folders. And the culture of it, rappers name drop it, world leaders ride in it, it's in every action movie ever made. The Escalade doesn't just transport you, it makes an announcement. At well past $110,000 to start, it should. And remember, this is only number 6. We're just warming up. Number 5. Infiniti QX80. Infiniti completely reinvented the QX80, and for the first time in years, people are paying attention. Around 224 inches on a 121-inch wheelbase, not the longest here. But in terms of presence, this thing sits on the road like it owns the deed. Body on frame. Twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6, 450 horsepower and 516 pound-feet. That puts it right in the brawl with anything from GM or Ford. But the real story is inside, because Infiniti went all in. Hand-stitched semi-aniline leather, real open-pore wood, a gorgeous digital cluster, and, here's the kicker, an available rear entertainment setup with dual screens that'd make a first-class seat jealous. On screen, Prop-A-Lot Assist 2.0 HUD 24 speaker Klipsch reference premiere. It's also got Prop-A-Lot Assist 2.0 hands-free driving, a head-up display, and a 24 speaker Klipsch system. Klipsch, that's an audiophile brand. They put audiophile speakers in a truck. I love 2026. 4 years, the QX80 lived in the Escalade's shadow, the forgotten luxury giant. Not anymore. This redesign is Infiniti throwing down the gauntlet and saying, we're back. And we brought receipts. Now, quick heads up before we keep climbing. The top 4 is where this list stops being reasonable and starts getting unhinged. One of them has a literal safe inside it. So if you're enjoying this, do not tap away now. And if you want more breakdowns like this, the subscribe button genuinely keeps these coming. Onward. Number 4. Nissan Patrol, the Armada in North America. The Patrol is legendary in the global market. In the Middle East, in Africa, in Australia, This thing has a following that borders on religious. And the latest generation earns every bit of it. Around 219 inches in standard form, so it might look shorter than some entries above it. But long wheelbase versions in certain markets push well past 225 inches. And it's over 6,000 pounds of body-on-frame muscle. The 2026 Patrol runs a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6 making 425 horsepower. But in select markets, there's still a naturally aspirated V8 the purists absolutely worship. The sound of a Patrol V8 echoing across an empty desert, that's close to a spiritual experience. What sets the Patrol apart here is off-road credibility. While most SUVs this size just cruise the highway, the Patrol has a multi-terrain system, a locking center diff, and a hydraulic body motion control setup, interconnected shocks that fight body roll without an active stabilizer bar. That's genuinely elegant engineering. It's not the most luxurious here, not the most powerful. But if the world ended tomorrow, and I could pick one vehicle to survive in, I'm taking the Patrol, and I don't think that's even controversial. Now, if the Patrol is built to survive the apocalypse, the next one is built to make sure you arrive at it in comfort. Number 3. Mercedes-Maybach GLS 600. About 205 inches long. And I know, that's shorter than the Suburban. So why is it this high? Because the Maybach isn't here for length. It's here for sheer mass, presence, and pure audacity. It weighs over 6,000 pounds. Handcrafted for 0.0-liter twin-turbo V8 with mild hybrid EQ boost minus 550 horsepower, 538 pound-feet. And it rides on the active body control, an active hydraulic suspension that controls each wheel individually. It leans into corners. It can lift itself out of the sand. It makes 3 tons of metal float like a magic carpet, but the back seat is the star. Individual executive thrones, heated, cooled, massaging, with calf rests and fold-out tables. And between them, a refrigerated compartment that holds, I am not making this up, silver-plated champagne flutes, silver-plated champagne flutes, in an SUV. For 2026 it gets Burmester 4D sound with bass shakers built into the seats, a refreshed MBUX system with augmented reality nave, and a two-tone paint process using 5 layers that takes way longer than a normal Mercedes. Starting around $175,000, the Maybach GLS 600 is not for the faint of heart or the faint of wallet. But it proves that biggest isn't only about inches. Sometimes it's about impact, and if you think that's extravagant. Number 2 named itself after a diamond. Number 2. Rolls-Royce Cullinan Series 2. Named after the largest gem-quality diamond ever found, the Cullinan is Rolls-Royce's first and only SUV, and it is exactly what you'd expect from a company that's been building the finest cars on Earth for over a century. At 210 inches and a staggering 6,069 pounds, it's a monument on wheels. The Series 2 update for 2026 brings redesigned LED headlights, a wider illuminated grille, and cleaner rear styling. But, as always, the magic is inside. The 6.75-liter twin-turbo V12 makes 563 horsepower and 627 pound-feet. And the delivery is so smooth, so linear, that Rolls famously calls it one endless, silken wave of power, no surge. No drama. Just relentless, effortless forward motion. And the interior can be configured in basically infinite ways. Want a Starlight headliner minus 1,344 hand-placed fiber optic lights mapped to the night sky on your exact wedding anniversary? Done. Want the leather matched to a specific shade in your favorite painting? They'll do it. Want a picnic set with hand-finished silverware folded into the tailgate? Standard on certain builds, the Cullinan starts around $350,000. Most buyers cross for $100,000 after options. And nobody who buys one cares about the price. That's the whole point. But even a Rolls-Royce isn't the biggest SUV in the world. Which brings us to the one I teased at the very start. Number 1. The Carlman King. You've probably never heard of it. Most people haven't. And that's by design, because only a handful exist on the entire planet. The Carlman King is a custom ultra-luxury SUV built on a Ford F550 chassis, over 230 inches long. And the weight, and this is not a typo, about 13,000 pounds. 13,000 pounds. That's more than 2 Cadillac Escalades combined. And in armored spec, it pushes past 20,000 pounds, heavier than a lot of military vehicles. The body is angular, stealth fighter carbon fiber. It looks like what Batman would drive if Batman were a Saudi prince. There is genuinely nothing else like it on a public road. But the inside is where your brain quietly stops working. Hand-stitched Italian leather. Gold-plated accents, not gold-colored, actual gold. A built-in entertainment system. A coffee machine, and some builds include a safe. A vault, inside the car, for what? Diamonds. State secrets, extra snacks, your guess is as good as mine. A 6.8-liter V10 hauls it around, and despite the absurd weight, it tops out near 87 miles an hour. Which, in something this heavy, feels like breaking the sound barrier. The price, brace yourself, the Carlman King starts around $2 million. And fully loaded, armored versions have reportedly sold for close to $3.8 million, making it not just the biggest SUV in the world, but the most expensive production SUV ever built. This is what peak excess looks like. It's absurd, it's outrageous, it's completely unnecessary, and I kind of love it. So there it is, the 10 biggest SUVs on the planet heading into 2026, from the all-American Suburban to that 13,000-pound Carlman King I promised you at the very start. Here's what I actually want to know. If money were no object, which one would you daily drive? The sensible giant, or the rolling fortress with a vault in the back? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and I will argue with you, respectfully. And be honest, I know some of you think I ranked one of these too high. Tell me which. Let's fight about it down there. If this was your kind of ridiculous, the like button genuinely helps more than you think. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are we doing here? Hit subscribe and the bell. The next video is full of things that make the Carlman King look reasonable. It's right here,